If you haven't seen the previous couple of videos, this is kind of a recap of where we are now. I was improving a drainage area. I call it a slough. It was probably 30 feet wide and maybe 4 inches deep. I was in it. I was changing that into a ditch. I was just digging a ditch and I was in the water. And everything was going pretty good. I had probably improved about 200 feet of this until I got to a little soft spot and I started sinking. So I turned around to grab a tree to pull myself out, and the tree came up with a stump, and that made a hole next to where I was. I was already in sort of a hole. And I turned around and grabbed another one, and it came up, and then all of a sudden I was in a bind. So I tried to turn to get out, and once I tried to turn those tracks, that loose material that was underneath me slid into the hole where the two tree stumps used to be, and it all went south from there. I couldn't get out. I messed around probably more than I should have. I got deeper and deeper until I gave up. I called for help. So several weeks later, hoping the area would drain a little bit, which it didn't, I hired Will. He came out with his little mini hoe, risked getting stuck himself. And we worked a few hours, and we got the machine out of the mud onto solid ground, as solid as it gets around here. It was kind of iffy, and I did lean the machine, way farther than its owner's manual tells you to, for sure. And I think that was part of the problem. In my mind, I had thought I'd run the motor with no engine oil pressure, which I didn't. I know I ran it hot a couple of times. The buzzer would go off because the radiator was clogged with mud. I called myself turning it off every time that happened, but then I was thinking, man, I must have hurt something, because when I got out, I had some alarm. I had some engine alarms, and I was kind of wigging out here. I didn't know what I had done, but anyway, we got out, and I got on dry land, and now we're dealing with this issue. So this is the alarm on the dashboard that tells me that the high temperature buzzer had gone off. It's gone off several times, and I reset it every time, turn the engine off every time, and let it cool down and start it up again. So originally I thought the radiator was just plugged solid full of mud, which it was, and then I thought it was the thermostat because the radiator felt cool to the touch, but the engine was hot. And then I realized that the radiator had a hole in it. All the fluid was leaking out. So I purchased a new radiator from China. It took quite a while to get here, and it didn't fit. It was close, but it didn't fit. So as a temporary measure, I patched the old radiator and put it back in. So now the Trico is running at normal temperature, but I still have the alarm that says high intake air pressure. Like, I don't know what it was trying to tell me. I changed the air filter, so shouldn't have been any air resistance with that. And that, man, I just was I didn't know what to do. But first thing I needed to do was go clean some of the mud out from around the machine. So now that it's tracking without overheating, my hose, and I hosed out a bunch of mud. Okay, well, I'm not going to say it's spotless, but I bet I removed 200 pounds of mud from the tracks and the hydraulic compartment where all these hoses are. Man, it was just solid cake. You can now get air where it's supposed to get air. Now I can haul it down the highway without taking out somebody's windshield. When I wash it at the foundry, I don't have to scoop up 300 pounds of slop. So I'm going to go park it. I'm not going to run it anymore until we bring it to the foundry and I figure out what's wrong with the engine. It's got like a sort of a miss, and it's got blow-bys, blowing air back through the air filter. I don't know what I've done. Did something bad. Well, it's a sad day. Radiator's holding and it's cooling. It jumped up to the second bar a lot faster than it used to before all the damage, but it held at the second bar for, I guess I ran it for 30 or 40 minutes. I finally put the culvert in that ditch. But there's something wrong with the engine. It's blowing air backwards through the intake, and it sounds like it's missing. So I don't know what I did. I did something. So we're gonna have to
get a trailer and gets this thing to my shop. And yeah, I don't want to do any more damage. And open that little engine up. Thankfully, it's a little bitty engine, but yep, there's something wrong in there. Sad day. So anyway, more YouTube material, but I prefer to get it differently than this. Okay, problems are just mounting on me here because I drove my Traco in the mud. Came this morning, I pulled the big trailer, that's Shane's trailer, and it's rated to pull the Traco, no problem. But my truck is not rated to pull this trailer with the Traco on it. So I pulled it empty. Dave's coming later on to hook up to it. And we're gonna put the tractor on it and pull the tractor to my foundry where I have a reasonably clean work area, and I was gonna investigate what's wrong with the motor. So my plan was to turn around in the field here, but it's underwater and I've never seen it underwater before. So I was at the bottom of the hill with my truck with 2-wheel drive city tires, and I couldn't turn around. So I was luckily able to back up this hill and get the trailer over here in this less desirable turnaround because it's softer. And of course I got stuck. So unhook the truck from the trailer, go get Colin's Dream tractor, which I'm sitting on, pull the truck out. Wasn't that big a problem. And then I parked the trailer using the tractor where I think David can back up to it with his truck and stay out of the mud. So that's all lovely. And then the mini hoe won't start, which has never, ever, ever happened before. So I got my truck back down the hill, but I didn't have a trailer this time, so it's a little easier. And I put the jumpers on it, and it's no go. The starter has been dragging the last couple of times I started it. It's probably full of mud, just like everything else. So we're gonna go tilt the cab forward and see if we can get this starter motor. Yeah, so my turnaround is underwater. I have never seen this with standing water ever. Now mud, yes, but water, no. So the 5 19mm bolts that hold the roll cage down, they're all out. I actually have some proper rigging this time. It's time to crank the cab forward so I can get to the motor. So my boom is not fully extended like it was last time, and I can't extend it because the motor won't start. So these hoses are getting kind of in a bind against this metal. So I'm going to take this off, 2 bolts here and 2 bolts there, and then hopefully I can get it up high enough so I can use the safety latch and get more headroom in there for the motor. So it looks like the starter motor has 2 bolts, one down here with a ground on it and one up here, and then of course the cables, which I think might be easier to get to once I get it unbolted. It doesn't look terrible. Let's get it out. So it's bad when you have the right size wrench and you can get it perfectly on the bolt and you just don't have the upper body strength to pull the dang wrench. I just barely got these 2 bolts out with the aid of a hammer and a cheater wrench and all kind of stuff, but they're out. So the starter motor should drop out right now where I can turn it around and get the cables off. And I did undo the battery, so we're safe. Starter motor is out, and yes, it is caked with mud, as is this cavity in here. I think there's a safety switch. I don't think I can crank the starter motor with the cab tilted forward. I don't know. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna put the cable back on and see if I can crank the motor. Okay, the machine would let me crank it in the tilted position, but it would not crank. So let me get the starter motor out of here and we'll take it apart and see if we can't find a problem with it. So it doesn't look like any mud got up into the solenoid. I'll have to test it in a second. So it's electric magnet. When you turn the key, the magnet pulls or pushes this little thing, I don't know which one, and it activates a lever in there. So I don't know, pretty simple. I'm going to take the gear train off and see, I don't know, just to see. So this might be the problem. All the brushes are rusted into the holes, so the springs are not pushing them in. A little rust in here, mud, but there's no mud in the gear case between the motor and the drive deal, and the armature looks okay. So I'm gonna go up to the cabin and get some oil and some kind of, I don't know what I have for solvent, and clean this up. And I don't know why, if I get the brushes to move again, I don't know why it wouldn't work. But we'll try it out. Okay, I can't get this apart. The gear is like spring loaded and I'm kind of scared to pull on it. I don't know, but it appears to work. I don't think there's anything wrong. Now that cavity is not sealed from this cavity where the motor is. I was going to fill it with oil, but I don't think that'll be good. But I might put a couple squirts of grease in there. I don't think that'll hurt anything. I'm going to seal that part back up. Well, I don't have a wire brush here, but I do have some silicone spray. I cleaned up the armature. It looks to be fine. This bearing was a little tight, but it's loosened up. And it looks to be a shielded bearing, which to me is not a waterproof bearing. Same as this one back here. But they both spin easy. So they should spin easy enough to make the thing work. So that goes back in there. Now the tricky part is the brush housings are very corroded. I don't have any sandpaper, but I think I can clean them up enough to make them work. This thing's pretty nasty on the inside, but it's really just to keep the water out. That's a joke. Okay, let's clean this up and see if we can see anything that's broken. I don't think anything's broken. I think it's just rusty. Okay, for now, I have given up on the starter motor. I don't understand why it won't work or do anything. It doesn't spark, it doesn't arc. There doesn't seem to be any connection between the lead and the ground. So I'm gonna take it home, open it back up, and get a YouTube video and just trace it part by part. But I don't think I can do that here in the sun. Actually, count my blessings. I've been messing around with this catastrophe for a couple of months now. And every time I come, the weather is idyllic. It is beautiful today, if I can stay out of the direct sun. So I'm gonna shift gears. As per my buddy, Little Brad, he says pull off the valve cover and look for something that's bent. So that's what I'm gonna do. It looks easy enough. Okay, valve cover's off. Everything looks good. One thing's weird though. All 4 valves on cylinders 1 and 2 are loose. Now cylinder 3 is tight. The valves must be open. Okay, is that even possible? Is that correct? Or do I have a problem? It's a new day, a new week actually, and I got the starter back from the starter rebuild shop. And I see a problem, and I didn't see this at home. He's changed, I guess, the solenoid, and this is a flat, whatever you call it, spade connection. And the one that came out of the machine had a bolt there, so I don't have a way to connect that wire to this wire. I'm gonna have to get creative, I guess, so I can try to start the thing. Well, it's 6:20 in the morning. Nothing's going to be open. Lowe's is open, but that's a 30-minute drive. I'm gonna put the starter motor in. I just won't be able to hook up that little sensor wire, that little starter wire, and then I'm going to go work on the lawnmower, and we'll go to the hardware store in Kentwood in a little bit. Okay, the local lawnmower shop gave me a spade connector. I only have one, so I can't mess up. I got some tape, my cutters. I'm gonna cut off that old connection, which has a loop on it, and put on this little spade connector, and we should be ready to start, hopefully. Okay, it was not a very good connector. I had to strip back about half of the copper to even get the copper in it, but hopefully it'll get us home. So let's see. All right, we started. Now, I'm not very far from where my pump is. And the other day when I washed everything off, I didn't have the hood up. So there's still like just a ton of mud up in here. So I'm gonna close the hood, walk it back that way. It's not very far. Pick the hood back up, hose it out, and then walk it over to the trailer and get ready to bring it home. So it's a little extra walking I didn't want to do, but I don't have a place to put all this mud at home. I just have a slab. It's going to go everywhere. So I ran the generator out of gas, but I got a lot of pounds of muck out of here. You can now see the top of the turntable. I also found an access point part where I can see the gears. I wanna do that to make sure that's not full of mud. I'm gonna wait till I get to the shop. And I got a good bit of the mud from around the motor. Yeah, I'm glad I did this. Okay, we're gonna go park it right behind the trailer and wait for me to borrow a heavier truck than mine. My truck is not ready to pull this with the heavy trailer that it sits on.
After years of using crappy nylon straps.
Okay, the A-Link Traco is at the foundry at my shop, safe and sound.
Feel good about this.
Tomorrow I will bring some sort of soap and the pressure washer and give it a final cleaning before we, I don't know, open up the engine, before we work on the engine. It's got to be clean. And I'm probably I'll put the whole thing inside so I don't have to worry about rain on the engine. My little machine has not been this clean in a long, long time. I kind of turned the pressure down a little bit when I was working in on the insides here, but theoretically it's all hydraulic, so none of it should get water in it. And then when I got to the boom, it was a little disappointing. The grease was not affected by the pressure washer. Right here, and all of this mess. I guess I just missed that totally. If I'm gonna paint it, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get this grease off. So if anybody knows the easy way, let me know. But otherwise, I'm gonna set the cab back down and I'm gonna back it inside because the days are starting to hit 90 degrees and there's not any shade in this parking lot. And I don't know how long the engine will be apart. If I bring it inside, I don't have to worry about rain. So once again, close the top. This makes like number 10, I think. I'm gonna put some boards here so I don't track all this mud inside. And weather forecast for the next few days is dry, so maybe this stuff will dry up and I can sweep it. You know, we're gonna put it inside. Yep. This is the heat wrap off the exhaust manifold. I just took it off, didn't damage it. I'm gonna put it back, soaking wet, but I think it will dry out eventually. What I'm thinking is if I start it and let it run a little bit, I can shoot my temperature probe on the 3 different cylinders and maybe I can detect which one is acting up. I still don't know what's happening, but maybe I can kind of narrow it down to 1 cylinder. That might help me later on. Okay, I think we got something. If I shoot, I just turned it off, but it's been running and it's hot. If I shoot the bolt that's holding the exhaust manifold on, it's 160 something, 65. The next one is 190 something, and this one is 190 something. So this cylinder is much cooler than this one. Or this one, I'm gonna call that number 1, I guess, because it's closest to the front. Now why? What makes the cylinder run cooler? I gotta figure that out. Well, this is something new to me. You rent this little machine, and it's free if you bring it back. And you run your engine to operating temperature, and then you, I don't know exactly the comment. You put this chemical in there, and then you suck your antifreeze from your hot radiator up in here, and it'll turn different colors. If there's a sign of exhaust gas leakage, it can detect combustible products in your antifreeze. And I just got it from the AutoZone, and I'm reading it, and it says not for use with diesel engines. So crap, not going to do that. Another thing I want to do is take off my counterweight to give me more room to work on the engine. I think it's a fairly simple operation. I think the only thing bolted to it is this air cleaner support, and I've had that off before. That's just these 2 bolts. Other than that, it is 3 big bolts on the back, 32 millimeter. I bought the socket and I had this thing loose when it was in the country, so I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Now I have a forklift and the battery is so dead it won't move. It's an electric forklift, so I'm going to have to pull it out with it, come along to get it within reach of this big cable. That's the charger. And I have an engine hoist and it's behind the forklift, so I'm kind of screwed there. But I do have 2 hoists. I got this electric one on this beam, and I have a primitive one on that beam. And so I think this one holding this eye clip and that one holding that eye clip, I don't think I'll have any problem getting that counterweight off and moving it out the way. This is a terrible design, but this is what we're doing. The good people at Hitachi put a threaded hole in the counterweight, and it's underneath a little. It was underneath a little round. I lost it. A little round sticky. You had to pull the sticky up, and that keeps water and stuff out of it. And it's a M16 by 2, which is this, which is I was able to buy at the hardware store. I could have bought a shorter one, but I didn't really know. And it's really meant for a eye bolt. The eye should have been on top of the bolt as one piece. I don't have that, but I did have a bunch of spacers. I did have some flat steel. I burnt 2 holes, and I was just going to put the shackle in this hole, but then I had these things. This is an eye nut, so I put the eye nut. So kind of like it's not right. I shouldn't be lifting at an angle to the bolt. I give myself a pass because the thing only weighs like 800 pounds according to the book. And we've got 2 eyes, 400 pounds. That's not very much for steel. Unfortunately, the video of removing the counterweight, it went poof. I got nothing except this picture, but it was a non-event. I just loosened the bolts and finally it came loose and swung about 3 or 4 inches to one side. I didn't have it perfectly balanced. And I just backed it up, set it on the ground, and never did even unhook the chains because it was going to go right back. I'm kind of stuck. My mentor is telling me do not remove the head until we find out what's going on. To me, it's got to be in the head. It's got to be a valve or a cracked head. But I'm going to listen to him because he's done a lot more of these than I have. I need to go find some fluid that's suitable for diesel with this little tester thing. And this is not suitable for diesel. So I'm gonna hose one more time. I'll hose this mud back here, and a little bit more showed up. And by tomorrow it'll be dry, so it won't be that bad. Just be dirt on the floor. Yeah. Anyway, okay, made some progress. Got the machine cleaned. I got the machine cleaned up. I got the counterweight off, so it got pretty good access, especially when you take the exhaust off and take the air filter off. Everything's pretty much just right there. This is some sort of pollution control stuff. I don't really know what it does or how it works. I don't guess it could be the cause of my problem. I don't think so. I think whatever's wrong is because the engine got hot. That's my guess. So in addition to the chemical test, which I didn't have the right chemical, and a compression test, which I don't have the right equipment, I was ordered to bleed the injectors, and that was the only thing I could do with what I had at the time. So we bled the injectors. All right, well, I don't know what's going on. I bled the 3 injectors, and I let them blow for a pretty good bit, not just a little bit. I didn't really see any bubbles, but it's really hard to see because everything's spraying. And then I tightened them back up, and I think I fixed it. I think it's running better. It's kind of hard to tell. Little diesel engines, they do kind of jump around. But the error message on the dashboard went away, which means, I don't know what it means. It means I think I fixed it. And when I run it, I don't feel quite as much air bouncing out of here. So, I don't know. I think I fixed it. I'm gonna put it back together. I got a couple of wires to fix. The wire connection that I put on the new starter motor is really chinchy. I want to get a more beefier. That's the little spade connector. The one I got was for like a 14 wire or 16 wire, and it's a big, heavy, maybe a 10 gauge wire. So I want to do that. There's 2 wires up here that are cut, and I think they go to the horn. I'm not really sure where they go. They need to be patched up. Yeah. This is cool. Oh, big deal. A big deal. There is a access plate right down there, and I want to open it up. I can't really tell what the phone's looking at, but there's an access plate down there. I want to open it up and make sure that my turntable is not full of mud and dirt. And if it is, that could be a big deal, but apparently my motor's okay. Good morning, a new morning at the foundry, and it's a happy morning because my motor's fixed on my track hoe. But before I get started, I'm gonna try to sweep up the majority of this. It was mud yesterday, it's dirt now. This parking lot drains to the back. So when I built the little foundry shed, it drained through the shed, and that became an annoyance. So I capped this slab, and to deal with the water, I just put a 4-inch channel, so all the water from this parking lot goes through that channel, and I don't want all this mud to get up in there and clog it up, so I'm gonna sweep it and pick it up before I start on the traco. Okay, it went from a high to a low. I got a disturbing issue here. I wire brushed and vacuumed all the dirt off this little access plate, and I realized the plate is loose. The bolts are loose, and the plate is loose, which means my gear case down there is probably full of mud. I don't know. Let me take this little plate off and see. It's not the most comfortable place in the world to work, but I can get to it. This is the cover plate. And these are the 2 bolts. They're very short, and they did not have paint marks on them. Most of the bolts on the machine have paint marks, and I'm assuming that's to verify that they've been tightened. These did not. Apparently they were never tightened from the factory, and if you look in the hole, it's not as bad as I was thinking. Okay, you can see the gear. That's the ring gear. You can see the ring gear, and it's dirty, but the cavity is not full of water or full of mud. So apparently it can drain. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. Okay, this are the 2 grease fittings. One for the bearing and one for the ring gear. Now the one that says ring gear or slewing gear, it says to grease every 500 hours. And the one that says bearing, it's hard to read, but I think it says every 250 hours. Well, I grease these things every time I grease the machine, so sometimes that was every day. So there's a lot of grease on that gear, which is good. So I stuck my finger on the gear to pull out what was there. And yes, there is some mud, but it is mostly grease. So I don't think I'm gonna do anything with that except try to get the top to seal better. It's got a little dirt, it's gonna wear faster, but at the few hours I put on this machine, it's probably good for 15 years, and I don't have 15 years left in me. So we're gonna just pretend it's all good. It wasn't full of dirt, it wasn't full of water. It just had some dirt mixed in with the grease on the gear. I guess there's a drain to let the water out. I don't know. Now there is some water down in there. I don't know what you can see and what you can't see, but it's damp in the bottom. It's like maybe a 1/16, 1/8 of an inch of water in the bottom. So I don't want to seal that up in there. I think I'm gonna put my vacuum in there on the pressure side and just let it blow for a while. I'll let it blow while I put the counterweight back on, see what happens. Getting the wrench on the injector was pretty challenging. And I think if I would not have taken off the counterweight, it would have been even more challenging. So I don't feel bad about taking off the counterweight, but it's time to put it back on. I've greased all the mating surfaces. They had no paint, and got to get it up here. So the 2 little lifting holes that are drilled and tapped in this cast iron filled to the top of the oil. I used hydraulic piston oil because that's what I had, and I've duct tape. So hopefully next time if I ever need to remove this thing again, I'll have nice clean holes. Counterweight is back on complete. I got the little door back on. The little door looks crooked. It looks like it's down on the left, but it shuts perfectly. When I try to get it to look right, it doesn't latch, so it's crooked. Sorry. Tried to wash off my high water mark, but it stayed on there. Gets it to memory for me. And now I can put away my stuff. This big wrench goes home. This, and this goes in the bottom drawer where I keep oddball big bolts. This goes in the drawer where I keep shackles and lifting stuff. And these specialty brackets go over here where I keep my specialty brackets. And I need to put back, this is the only thing I took off the motor yesterday was a lifting bracket. And that was only so I could get the wrench on the injector to bleed the injector. So we can put that back real quick. Well, wonder of wonders. The vacuum cleaner blowing warm air down in there for the last probably hour. I don't see any more standing water. I'm gonna clean this little flange area one more time and put the top on it. And cross my fingers. If there's a problem, it'll be a problem for a future Barry. I'm calling it good. I don't think there's a problem. I think I've got enough grease squirted in there over the last 3 years to protect everything, hopefully. This is the cover plate that I took off. It had no sealant. It's very thin. It had a neoprene gasket. But if you put this on here and tighten down these big bolts, you're just going to smush the rubber here and open it up here. Maybe that's why it came loose. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It doesn't look like anything that they expected to be watertight. I guess it's to keep dirt. I don't know. May just smear a little grease on the face of it here and put it back. I don't know. Wish somebody knew. If somebody knows, let me know. This is another one of those deals where you can see it and you can touch it, but you can't see it and touch it. Anyway, I got the first bolt went in fairly easily. The second bolt gave me a hard time. Tried over and over again, and I finally got it started, and I'm pretty sure it's cross-threaded because it was really hard to turn all the way down. But I did get it down enough where I saw grease squeeze out from under the plate. So, yeah, so that's as good as it's gonna get. We're gonna take the light out, and I think I can drop the, put that lifting bracket back on. I think we can drop the cab now and start the machine, although I don't need to start the machine. I need to put side panels back on. Yes. We are almost back together. I know where these 5 bolts go. They hold the roll cage down. 2 of these go to the little sheet metal in the front that you have to take off to tilt the cabin so you don't bend it. These 2 look like they go with this, and I don't have a clue where that goes. I cannot find it. This one goes where I couldn't get it, but I need to try to get it right here because it rattles. It goes in a hole right there on the side. And then I was short one for the bottom plate, but I found one in my metric junk drawer, so this will go in the bottom, so the bottom will be 100% complete. I need to try to get this bolt in because this thing does vibrate and make noise. And then I don't know where this goes. I don't see any holes. I don't see anything missing. I don't even know. If anybody knows, let me know. Last thing I want to check before I put the cab back down again is there's a little, it's oily here. I took this off the other day, so I'm wondering if the gasket rolled on me or if it got some dirt under the gasket or something, because there was no oil leaks at all before I messed with this. So I'm gonna take it off and take a look. I'm gonna go ahead and get a new gasket. Seems silly to try to put this one back. It's kind of old and hard and it's been hot, so get a new gasket. And I have wrenches to fit the out drives. I need to bring some 90 weight oil. I think I have some at home. So that's the 2 things I need. Oh, there's an inspection plate underneath the bottom, underneath the turntable. So I'm gonna take that off when I get this thing outside. I'm sure it's gotta be full of mud, but I don't wanna do it in here. So, new valve cover gasket. I can put the machine back down, and I can change the oil right where it is because it takes less than a quart for each side. Yeah, making progress. It's gonna be hot out there this afternoon, that's for sure. 90 degrees already. So I picked up a new valve cover gasket, 48 bucks, believe it or not. And it doesn't really want to stay. When I pick it up and turn it over, it kind of falls out. And I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm not going to be able to see whether or not it's in there or not. So I could put grease, but I think I might have some silicone gasket stuff. I might just put a few little dots. Let me get that stuff. Okay, we got 3 little fancy hold down nuts with built-in O-rings. I put the heat guard back on. There's a breather pipe and a little support to hold these 2 lines. And that's it. I guess I should start it before I lower the top down just to make sure something awful's not going on. Let's do that. Second side done. No sign of water in either side, but this oil is quite a bit darker than the oil on the other side. That's a little disconcerting. I may start changing this oil every 100 hours. It's so easy. And that would keep this dirty oil from grinding on my gears and bearings that are in there. And on the back side is just a plate. It's just to guard the hydraulic hoses. When I get it out in the parking lot, I'll probably take that off because that's probably solid mud behind there, even though there's no moving parts. I'd like to get the mud out. So you see what I'm doing? I'm doing exactly what I said last week I was never going to do again. But I forgot that sketchy spade connector I put on the starter motor when I was out in the country. I want to change it. Bought some good marine ones, and I'll show you the difference when I get it out of there. So this is the connector, the red one, that the guy at the lawnmower shop gave me so I could get the thing started. And I had to trim away about half of the wire to get in that little bitty hole. And it's probably plated steel. And this one is marine, so it is plated copper. And it is meant for a 12, so it's got a big hole. So I'll be able to get my wire in there and crunch it. And then this is heat shrink tubing, so I just need to heat it. And it'll suck up tight around the wire and keep from getting any moisture in there to resist to resist corrosion. And then I can put the cab back down for the final time, maybe. All right, so the starter motor has the correct terminal on it. Let's see if it'll start. Oh yeah. All right, so let's put the cab down for the last final time again. So with the help of a cheater pipe, my old man arms were able to get all of these bolts out, and this one's loose, so I'm gonna unscrew it and it's gonna fall. And judging from the mud over here, I don't think it's gonna fall out. I think it'll just be stiff. But anyway, if I have to take a shower before I go home, I'll just have to take a shower. Let's get it off. Very difficult to film under here. Poking out a little bit, there's the motor that turns the car body on top of the chassis. And the mud's falling out. Now I can only assume that these arms are solid full of mud. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna be able to get out. I definitely can get this stuff around the motor out because it just falls easy. And if I could hold the camera, I would do it, you could see. Yeah, it's dry enough where it's not like all over the place. Yeah, so I'll put the camera down. Okay, I got some of the mud out. Actually, I got a majority of it out. Now these members are full. I guess they'll come out on this end. The front 2 members are full and they're sealed, but there's a little weep hole at the bottom, so I guess it'll dry out because water can drain out. However, I don't know that I need to get this too clean, because in the front, this is the opening into that cavity, and there's one on the other side too. So it's always going to get junk in there, but I guess I can kind of start with a fresh slate, try to clean it as well as I can. and we'll call it good. I still got to do the final drive, so. All right, I've laid under the machine on my piece of foam that I've had for years and a piece of plywood, and I hosed and I hosed and I hosed, and I used my hands and a screwdriver and everything I could, but now there is a clear cavity. Look at this big chunk of mud between here and there on all 4 outriggers. I can get to all the hoses with a regular wrench if I do need to change them, but this is going to get filled with mud again. And I got bit by a little crawfish. I know you're gonna think I'm lying, but I was reaching my hand in there to pull out mud, and I felt a pinch, and I pulled out a little crawfish. I guess he went in there when he was a little baby. I don't know what he's been eating for the last month, but I can't find him now. He's gone. It didn't hurt, just kind of scared me. So let's go home, get some lunch. Let's let this dry out so I can shovel it up. I might have to take a shower here. I can't get in my truck like I am, but yeah, so I think I'm done with the mud removal. I think it's time to get the pressure washer and start on the grease removal, because I want to paint this boom while it's here, and it is pretty greasy. So I've been cleaning grease for a few days. It's getting kind of old. Now I just sanded lightly with just hand paper all the surfaces that I could get to. I have unbolted all the bolts that I can reasonably get off, so I can get paint behind all these hoses and things. Now I'm gonna squirt it with soap one more time. See, that's grease. And hit it with the pressure washer one more time. And then, because we have rain predicted all week, I think I'm gonna back it inside and start doing all my masking, because I don't want to mask and then have it rain and have to tape sit here for a week in the sun and get hard. So yeah, I got the pressure washer. I'm gonna pressure wash it one more time and back it up and let it drip dry. Well, it's Tuesday morning and it's paint day and everything's ready, but it is raining pretty hard. Can't open the back doors because the rain blows in, so I'm gonna give it a little bit. The rain's supposed to blow out, and we're gonna paint today. First can down, I have 2 cans. It's gonna be pretty close. I got all of these sides and a good bit of the bottom. And I got the top of this boom. And I got the bottom and the top of the dipper. I don't have the top or the bottom here, and I don't have much on the other side. I do have that. I think I'm more than halfway. I think the second can will do it. Probably we'll just have to paint this with a paintbrush and some green paint. I'm gonna put it back on. And after I finish spraying, I cut the can open and use a paintbrush, because there's a lot left in there when it quits spraying. And I use it for up in the cracks in the corners and stuff. So, gotta give it an hour and then open the second can. Well, it's painted, or it's undercoated, and it looks all right. I got a few spots that where the orange is showing, and I gotta paint this line. I didn't have enough to spray this line, so I think I'll go to the Home Depot and get a quart of green semi-gloss enamel and touch up all the little orange spots. There's a few, but overall it looks a lot better than it did with the orange boom. And what else do I need to do? I added another light, so I need to do something to take care of those wires. And I just remembered there were 2 wires under here. I think they went to the horn that were skint, so I need to take that off and see what I need to do to remedy that. And I don't know, man, give it a grease job and bring it to my nephew's house where I'm gonna do a driveway for him. So I gotta run the wire back to this light, which is right here. It just needs some zip ties. Yeah, pretty good. Very happy with this. I'm glad I did it. It really doesn't change anything. Makes it look a little less. I'm glad I did it. I don't know what I accomplished other than making it look a little different. But yeah, it's done, painted. So I'm putting these cover plates back on, and they are not even remotely watertight and never were intended to be. There's a big crack all the way around. And that's because if you look up here where the hoses come through, it's wide open. And according to the operator's manual, it's okay to drive this thing in water up to the bottom of the car body. So the water would come in, it would run down these hollow arms, which are now hollow because I got all the mud off of them. It'll come back here and it'll leak out. And this bottom plate, which covers that round hole, has these step washers to keep you from getting it too tight.
So I guess what happened is somewhere along the line, I leaned the machine so far over that the fuel line sucked the air bubble, and that was my total problem. And if I would have had my way and gone ahead and pulled the head, I wouldn't have found anything wrong. And then I'd be thinking there was something wrong with the ring, so I'd be pulling pistons. And that's exactly what little Brad told me. He said, do not pull anything apart until we figure out what it is. So I appreciate his mentorship. We figured it out. We got it fixed, no big deal. And as a bonus, I got the boom painted green to match the rest of the machine. So thanks for watching.